Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelava, and this is Conclave number 21. This is something slightly different, just a quick overview of the situation in the world right now as it stands in 970 AD. The Byzantine Empire spans a decent number of the former provinces with a bit of land just jutting out in random areas. Catholicism has spread to a large amount of Europe, even into Crimea, up into Sweden. I'm not sure if this is earlier than historically or not. It's very interesting that it's moved into the Pannonian Basin. That usually doesn't happen, at least not this early to my knowledge. We see that most of the world, especially these pagan elements, are just nothing but constant, terrible border gore with what desperate regimes existing, just being spread out in multiple exclaves just throughout massive areas. There are some nomadic elements, even those are kind of strewn about. The Christian world is not all that much better, though, with just tons of terrible border gore. That's going to be one of the things we try to fix, ultimately, with this campaign, is we're going to try to at least take back the Roman borders and maybe move some decent-looking countries a little bit further past the frontier. The ultimate goal with those is kind of up in the air at the moment, although it'll be interesting to see where that ends up. We do have to take over France and a bit of basically Aquitaine and most of Germany to get back to the Roman borders. So we'll see how those conflicts go. We will have quite a bit of difficulty actually doing that, as these Christian defensive pacts are actually also the pagan defensive pacts and also the Islamic defensive pacts. So the actual change between religious pacts doesn't seem to really matter. Speaking of religion, you'll see that, once again, Catholicism has spread a lot through Europe. The Sunnis have dominated all of East Africa, which may end up just completely getting rid of the Monophysites and the Miaphysites. We'll have to see where that ends up. There is no independent Christian state down in this region. Over in India, which we haven't actually looked at all in the series, you'll see that Hinduism is the dominant religion of most of the subcontinent, with Buddhism taking over the side, but not even the entire side. Realms are pretty disparate. There are a few held together with apparently some tributary states, and some decent-sized empires, even one that appears to be moving outside of the subcontinent, which is actually a very rare thing to see in this game. So that is somewhat interesting. The Abbasids, meanwhile, have lost quite a bit of their territory and are in protracted civil wars. It seems as though they're always fighting some sort of civil war or another, which is actually pretty great news, as I would rather them be fighting terrible civil wars than attacking us, and we have been very fortuitous in that. Up in the Northlands, the massive Horse Lord realms don't actually appear to be Horse Lords in very many instances. It seems as though Central Asia has actually settled. Up in the far north, though, we see the Yugir. If you've watched my other series, you've seen me just dominate the world as them. They're not doing quite so well, just under AI control. They are Manichaean, which is just par for the course for them, and probably just going to stay in their corner, not entirely relevant. The Aghuz, same story, just in their own place. I'm not sure if they have actually pressed further than is usual or not. However, I will try to keep an eye on that as time goes on. We do probably see them being pushed back, though. Earlier in the series, several nomadic groups did move into civilized areas and then settle, and there used to be nomadic groups, I believe, throughout this area, at least somewhat, and those all seem to be gone, except for sort of in the Black Sea region. That's really the mainstay of it all. Culturally, though, let's take a look. You'll see that Anglo-Saxons still dominate Great Britain. The Irish apparently have lost a bit of hold over their island. The Welsh even came over, which is somewhat interesting. In France, the French do exist, but they seem to be subject peoples under the Aquitanians. And as you all know very well, we have dominated all of Mediterranean Europe with our Sweeby culture, although it has not spread very far. It is definitely further than it had been at the start, and we are seeing pockets of it start to form just throughout Italy, and even mainly up here in northern Anatolia, and definitely in Crimea, although those are all just territories that don't actually have holdings, except for this one, interestingly. So it looks as though this spread is not actually real cultural spread, it just is areas on the map controlled by our people and no one else. Luckily, some of our relatives seem to have converted their capitals to our culture, which is very nice. And let's take a look. Croatians are all kind of subject peoples now. This man is Suebi, which is great news. Hopefully he'll move the empire into a Suebi direction. We do have the Croatian Countess of Venezia, so we might not see Suebi culture take hold there. Hopefully eventually we'll see Rome become Suebi. If we take a look at our Pope vassal, they are Castilian, and their heir is Italian, whose heir is also Italian. So we're not likely to see a Suebi Pope in the near future. The Valerian Guard, I believe, is always Norse, so that will probably never change. And Norse, meanwhile, is still just dominant in their locations. I'm not sure what the dominant culture is here. Let's go ahead and take a look. It is Saxon, which is interesting. Those are Germanic people who managed to move way up north. Swedish is also apparently taking hold, as well as Norwegian, so maybe those will eventually overcome. At any rate, thank you very much for this slight intermission, for, I guess, just putting up with it. Sorry to not have the normal narrative campaign going on at the moment. You see, our dynasty is doing fairly well, even in a few offshoots, although they apparently have lost that control in West Africa, and most of North Africa has fallen. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back with the regular scheduled broadcasts starting tomorrow. Have a great day.